Hi, I'm Linda.
And I'm Sarah. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Let's get relational. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Let's Get Relational.
Today we are speaking about inner resourcefulness.
I like to talk about resourcefulness, inner resourcefulness, as being fully resourced inside, so that you're not really needy and trying to get something from somebody else, and you are feeling like you're coming to challenging situations as a whole person and not trying to fill a hole inside of yourself. If we come to relationships with a hole inside of ourselves, then we're trying to always get somebody else and something else to fill that hole. And so with inner resourcefulness, what you're looking at are the things that help fill you up. Now, some of those things are going to be walking in nature. They're going to be a spiritual relationship. They're going to be certain friends, certain romantic partners, siblings, that kind of thing. It's different for everybody.
Yeah. And the thing too is, like, I like to imagine it as a reservoir, like some sort of canister that is within you, go with that metaphor. And so it's something that whatever you do, it's just, you're pouring stuff into that. And if you're not fully resourced, if you're not working on really taking care of yourself, your reservoir is going to have holes in it. And so whatever you put in is just going to come back out. It's just going to go trickle out, and you're not going to be able to fill yourself up, which creates that cycle of you keep wanting things, trying to get things from other people to fill yourself up, but it never fills you up, so you never feel great, so you continue the cycle over and over and over again. So if you're not focusing on like what's going on within you that's not allowing your reservoir to be filled with what you're doing, and if you're not filling up your reservoir yourself and working on patching up those cracks and those holes, then you're just going to repeat a cycle of constantly needing something from everyone else instead of looking inward.
Yeah, that constant neediness is what you really want to pay attention to. So, like, look in your life and look at what situations you struggle with the most. And think about when you are approaching those situations, whether it's a difficult conversation or a negotiation with your boss, or parenting a child, or parenting a parent. Those roles change. What is it that you struggle with the most? And as you think about that, think about how you feel when you go into that situation, when you're fully resourced, when you've got that inner resourcefulness, when you feel good, when you feel like nothing can bug you. And there are certain high points in my life when I feel like everything is just all love and magical. And, the day she was born was like that. And the day I climbed Mount St. Helens was like that. There are certain things that are just magical, that you feel like everything is love, everything is bliss. But those, for a lot of people, are few and far between. And our culture celebrates busyness. Our culture celebrates overextension. Mm-hmm. Our culture celebrates giving to depletion. So in a culture like that, you have to really look at, how do you fill yourself up?
Especially when the giving also entails that, like, you're expecting something in return. It's not necessarily like you're giving just to give. It's you're giving because you're going to expect a return on that investment. So it's like the expectation of, you're not giving to just because you want to, it's giving to because you want something back and want something from someone else.
Yeah, and the culture creates an expectation that you give because you're going to feel better when you give. Mm-hmm. That's just not true. I mean, there are certain situations where it is true that giving feels really good. But giving feels really good when you're giving with an open heart and with an open hand, and that you're not trying to get something back from someone. And if you notice yourself feeling angry and resentful and feeling like you just don't feel like people appreciate you, then you really want to look at how much you're trying to get doing for others to fill up that hole inside of you. So the first thing is to look at, where are the situations where you struggle? Where do you feel that depletion? And then it doesn't take like a huge change to affect this.
No, it's my favorite thing to say is baby steps. Take the little tiny baby steps. That will get you somewhere. I guarantee it. Like, you don't have to go through like a change that's like leaps and bounds so big it's like shattering your world. You can just alter one little tiny thing in what you do during a day. Just one tiny thing.
Yeah.
And then slowly work your way up to the bigger changes, because baby steps are not as scary. They're not as difficult to deal with either. So if you think about, you know, like what those kind of situations are that like really stress you out and stuff like that, and that you struggle with, what is one tiny thing that you could do that would change that situation a bit? Like, let's say maybe you're kind of a procrastinator with having to do things. What if you planned out when you were going to do it? That was it. Like, all you did was like, or picked one thing that you were going to do early that you wouldn't have to do later. And so there's less for you to do, even if you procrastinate. So you're still a little bit less stressed. But that's just one tiny thing you can do.
Yeah, you teach your brain to have success. And so if you tell yourself you're going to do something all the time and you don't, you teach your brain to not trust you. So in order to create that trust again in yourself, you have to take tiny baby steps that you follow through with. I had a teacher once who said things like, tell yourself you're going to blink right now and do it. And it was so funny because so many of us have created this environment in our lives where we don't follow through, especially when it comes to ourselves. We do for everybody else, but when it comes to ourselves, somehow we think that's not as important. And sometimes we drive our coaching clients a little bit nuts when we talk about self-care, because without the self-care, without the inner resourcefulness, you do not make good decisions. You give in order to get, and you're always trying to fill a hole inside of you from your clients, from your family, from your friends. And so you need to know that you don't have to keep doing the things you've been doing, that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You will be okay if you change your behaviors.
And just baby step behaviors. Again,
Yes.
you can just do little baby steps,
Yes.
and you'll still be okay. It's not, again, it doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It's just a little step.
I was on a call with a client one day when during the quarantine, and her college-age student came in and interrupted the call to ask mom when she was going to make lunch for him. I said, how old's your kid? Well, he's 21, but you know how it feels better when somebody else makes lunch for you. But it was clear to me that she was exhausted. She was feeling so much pulling at her, and her inner resourcefulness was totally depleted. And she was getting all of her needs met by doing for other people. And she wasn't teaching her kid how to give back in the family. Like another friend who's had a kid with long-term illness said it's so exciting to see her kid not only stepping up to want to help make dinners and things like that, because it's a sign that she's feeling better and healthier, but she becomes a contributor to the family, not just a taker. Wasn't that interesting? Yeah. And so, you know, we all feel better when we contribute to the family. And for those of us who are huge givers and take care of everything for everybody else, we are robbing other people of the ability to give. Our inability to receive robs other people of the ability to give. Now, sometimes we have to teach people how to treat us differently. If we've always been the giver and refused to receive, we have to teach them that we would like something different. Yes,
and that's when, you know, setting up boundaries and having a conversation and talking about, like, I've realized these are the habits that I have gotten into, and these are the ways of being that I've gotten into, and I would very much like that to change because it's not healthy for me at this point. Are you willing to change with me?
Right, and planning ahead. I saw on a travel site that I'm on this morning, somebody saying, okay, when you're a family of 4, you're traveling with your spouse, you have 2 children, do you get 2 seats and 2 seats, or do you get 3 seats and 1 seat? How do you do it? And it was so interesting to see the responses. Some people assumed that one parent was supposed to take care of the children and the other parent got a free pass. One parent assumed that because they always take care of the children, that their spouse should be taking care of the children on the flight. It was so interesting to see what the differences were about people's expectations. But again, a lot of people hadn't really thought about it. They were in these unconscious behaviors of this is the way it's supposed to be. And so, you know, get really conscious of the places that you are giving up your power, you're giving up your ability to receive, You are giving other people all the power, and where you're trying to get all your needs met from somebody else coming in and doing something for you, or you get your needs met also by doing everything for them.
Yeah, because that is the flip side. You know, we can give a lot because that's how we get our needs met, but we can also want to receive all the time too. And that again, like there's like, yeah, you get to receive all the time, but you know what? It's looking at what is that doing for the relationship as well that you have with that person. Same thing if you're giving all the time. Then it's a one-way street then. You know, it's not a connected relationship. It's not an equal relationship because someone's doing all of the work for it and you're just sitting there and just basking in everything that they're giving. You know, like, yes, lay your love on me. Please. So, so that, and that kind of thing can be different if it's like alternating or if there's one point where someone's receiving more or someone's giving more. But if it's constantly one-sided, it's one-sided. That means your relationship is just one-sided. There's not really substance there. So,
and you really can't get all the things you need from one person anyway.
Oh, no.
So, you know, how are you looking at who you are as a person, what you love most in the world, who you want to be in the world? And a lot of people have lost that sense of themselves. A lot of women lose that sense of themselves. They become all about the spouse. They become all about the children. They become all about the career. And somebody said to me the other day, you know, it's very hard to be good at everything. And so you might be really great at your career or really great at parenting and not great at other things. And that's perfectly okay, but don't just do it unconsciously. You know, look at it and say, wow, I loved this child who I brought into the world, and I'm spending so little time with them because I'm so focused on my career. And what will I feel like in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years if all my focus is on the career?
Yeah.
You know, so really allowing yourself to look at in a very conscious way. I think that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about a lot is being very conscious about choices and being very compassionate towards yourself and the other people. Remember, you have taught everyone to treat you the way they treat you, and you can teach them to treat you a new way.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe that's something else that, you know, the culture of America has sort of taught us as well, is to like do things unconsciously. That, you know, don't put any, like, not really teaching us to think critically and consciously about our actions and next steps. We're just supposed to, like, go through the motions, check boxes off, like, a list that we're supposed to do. And it's not really like we're making a whole lot of conscious choices all the time in that way. So I think it's also important, like, it doesn't mean you have to make the choice, but, like, be aware of what choices you are making.
Yeah, I remember when you were looking at going to college, and I was feeling like it was a huge reflection on me because the rest of the family had kind of done their thing and was kind of over here, and it was just us pretty much. And I thought if you didn't go to college, and if you didn't go to a good college, then somehow it was going to reflect badly on me. And one of my friends said to me, well, Linda, might not be her time to go to college right out of high school. I was like, no, she has to. And I had to get really conscious about what was going on for me. I was feeling like that was going to reflect on me. And really, it was reflecting on her choices. And it was on me to allow her to have the choices that were going to be empowering for her. And so I had to let go of my need for that. It was funny, I in a lot of ways, because I wasn't really conscious. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't conscious that I was really feeling like that till somebody said, doesn't have to be that way. And we've had conversations a number of times saying that, you know, had she graduated from high school in 2020, she'd be definitely taking a gap year this year.
Or two.
Yeah.
Or three.
Just because, you know, things have really changed. The college experience has changed. And we were really looking at how things would be different in her age now if she were just coming out of high school. And, you know, we look at her friends who graduated from college in this last year or two and how challenging that's been. And, you know, it's they've got to really build their inner resourcefulness there because so much has changed for so many people. And a lot of us don't have the resources we had internally. And a lot of us never had them, and we need them now more than ever before.
Yeah.
And we want to remind you, it's not a crime
to ask for help or to ask for clarification.
Tell us more about asking for clarification.
So, again, this goes back to communication. Again, I don't know why I had to sing that. But But it goes back to communication. And the important thing with communication is that when you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to explain things or things are explained to you, sometimes people miscommunicate or we misinterpret or we make assumptions that are wrong. So it's important to ask for clarification when you're confused about something, when you don't quite understand something, or when you think you've made an assumption about one thing. You just want to make sure that your assumption is correct. It's not a crime to ask for that, and it's absolutely 100% not a crime to ask for help either. A lot of us want to avoid asking for help because we gotta do it ourselves and be independent and strong, and it's like, no, like you can't be all of those things, but you can also ask for help because sometimes we need help, and sometimes we're trying to do something that maybe we don't necessarily understand how to do. So we might know someone who knows how to do it better and has more knowledge and can ask them for help and for clarification.
Yeah, I am seen by a lot of people in my life as super strong and not stoic so much, but strong, and that I don't really need anything. And it's been years that I've been working on this so that what I've learned to do is ask for help with the small things. Hey, would you help me? Would you come early to the party and help me set up? Mm-hmm. Hey, could I come over and would you help me figure out this thing that I can't understand on my my software? I ask for small things so that when the big things are places where I need help, I have that relationship established. And so my inner resourcefulness is boosted by allowing other people to be part of that circuit of support and help. And asking for clarification is so important. You may assume that your child, your spouse, your friend doesn't want to do certain things for a totally erroneous reason. Again, you're being unconscious about it. You've never really had that conversation. You just assume that that's the case. And so I've learned a lot to ask people for clarification. And sometimes I'm really surprised. And I've grown to kind of like that because it's really fun to get to know people. It's like, well, you don't like doing that. Do you never like doing that? Or do you only not like doing that in these situations? Because I just really want to know, because if you hate that and you never want me to ask you to do that again, I won't ask you to do that again. But I just want to understand, is it just this particular time? Or is there something else I need to understand about, how you're feeling and what you are experiencing in this situation? And that increases my inner resourcefulness because it helps me understand another person. It helps me communicate, helps me learn to ask for help. It helps me learn to ask clarifying questions. All of that supports our inner resourcefulness.
And again, what she just talked about with asking help for help with only the little things, that's a baby step. That's just a baby step. That's just, okay, so this is something that maybe I don't really need the most help with, but I kind of know what I'm doing, so I feel more comfortable asking for help because it doesn't make me feel like I'm weak or something, right? But it's a little thing, so someone can step in and explain really briefly what's going on, and then you can go do it, and you can feel better, and I asked for help.
Yeah.
The world didn't shatter.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't know?
Well, and if people reject my offers for help on a consistent basis, and they're people who are close to me, they're part of my inner circle, I ask. I say, you never let me come help. Tell me about that. Is it because you always like to do everything yourself? Do you like doing it a certain way so you don't want anybody messing with it? Because I would love to help. I love when you come help me. It's a really fun bonding experience. I love that. And I think that without those clarifying questions and without that ability to just say, hey, what's up with that? Or even, we'll have those conversations. It's like, we went through a period where she used to make dinner occasionally, and then for a long time she wasn't doing it at all. And I would make dinner, but she wasn't ever volunteering. And I finally said, what's that about? And we had a really great conversation about it. I wasn't really feeling depleted or used or anything like that, but I really liked the times that she did that stuff. And now what we've done is pretty much we do it together. Yeah,
we pretty good together. Part of what, for me is that I eat differently than she does most of the time. So that's that's where I was coming from. I'm like, half the stuff that I make, you're not going to want to eat. So I was like, that's why I didn't offer, because she didn't want to eat. And I was trying to respect how she wanted to eat, the sort of way she wanted to eat things versus how I like to eat things. So
this is my carb-loving daughter.
Yeah.
And her mother loves the carbs, but the carbs don't always love her love me, I don't really love how I feel. But what we learned was to
Yeah.
find some things that we like together, and so we don't eat together every day.
Mhm.
We don't live together, and so for dinners though, several times a week, we'll find things. We're trying new things constantly. We try something new
Trying
couple
something
times a
new.
week.
We'll make something that we've made before, like way back when I was still living with her back in college. But you know, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's still like a joint process now because I'm over here a lot for work stuff anyway. So
But
it makes sense.
it's that clarification.
Yeah.
And all of those things help your understanding of the other person. They help your understanding of yourself, and honestly, they give you confidence.
Because and again, going back with the baby steps give you confidence to do the bigger things, so that when you get to that point, you can like ask for the help in a situation where you really need it, where it's like maybe you're really upset and you just need someone to like be there and like talk to you or something like that. Asking for clarification within a very difficult conversation, to be able to have that confidence that you've gotten used to asking for clarification when you're in a difficult or serious conversation. You realize, oh, I don't know if I understand this, or I don't know if I'm making the right assumptions here. Let me like clarify what's really going on for this other person. So it helps, giving baby steps help give you the confidence to eventually ask the bigger questions when you need it.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that happens too is the more you share what's going on with your own inner resourcefulness, like where you're feeling resourced, where you're not. I didn't realize how depleted I was in my inner resourcefulness until I was really feeling pretty isolated from other people. And like, I just didn't know if life was worth living. And I had a conversation, we have, because of COVID and not being able to be inside, and during these times in the county where we live, we've been having fireside chats. And so I brought this up and I said, this is how I've been feeling. I said, I'm starting to feel better now. And another friend said, me too. I've been in that same place. And we realized that when you get to that place, that it is so hard to ask for help. And if you are typically a person that seems very together and like everything is always working out for you and you're very strong, people don't ask. And so
I done that in college.
Yeah. So I realized that one of the things about being inner resourced and having that kind of successful life and feeling happy and feeling whole and feeling healthy is that on a regular basis, you need to allow people in. You need to be offering and receiving, giving, receiving, all on a regular basis. And I think it's super important to acknowledge that, because if you get to that place where you're feeling really down and depressed and not very well resourced, it's incredibly hard to ask for help at that point. And so I just really want to encourage you to really take stock of where you're feeling really good. Like, who are the people in your life that feel really good? And that's one of the things that I did as an exercise earlier in 2020. There was this whole exercise on what things and people make me feel good and what things and people make me feel depleted and contracted. And so it's such a simple thing, but I did less of the ones that don't make me feel good and more of the ones that do make me feel good. People that I hung out with, activities I did, those kinds of things. And it was just baby steps, you know, like a little bit at a time. I'm going to do a little bit more of that because that makes me feel good. I'm going to hang out a little bit less with that person because I don't feel good with that person. And so take some stock, look at those kinds of things, take some baby steps.
Baby steps. Baby steps are so important.
Yeah. And remember that it's good to ask for help. It's good to ask for clarification. It really enhances your relationships. My relationships are so much better since I started doing that. And since I stopped trying to get it from people who don't have the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
I think I was so frustrated for a while because I kept trying to get it. I kept trying to give and receive with people who only wanted to receive. They didn't want to give. And it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just not the right person for me at this stage of my life. In other stages of my life, those people can come and go in little doses. But for me, the people who I'm going to be most close to are the givers and the receivers, the people who allow me to give and want to give to me.
Who want the equal relationships. You don't want the one-sided ones.
And it's not equal all the time. I mean,
no. It's not going to be. The scales are will tip. You know, they're not always going to be balanced. Like they're going to tip. But the thing is, it's going to go back and forth.
Right.
It's not just going to tip in one direction and then stay there permanently.
Yeah.
So
I remember years ago, I had a friend, it was like the third or fourth time I'd had lunch with her, and every single time it was about her trauma. And at the end of, I think the third or fourth time, she said, well, next time maybe we'll talk about you. I said, no, I can't do this anymore. And she was shocked. But I had allowed that dynamic to happen until I got to the point where I just wasn't interested anymore in working it out, because I just got so depleted. So don't do that. If you've got a relationship that you really value and you really want to maintain that relationship, find a way to make it more give and take. Ask for what you need. For a lot of you, I know that's super hard.
And if you're receiving a lot from the other person, ask what they want out of the relationship too. Like, ask what they need, because there could be something that you can give them, but you haven't been because you've been really focused on getting things from other people or from them.
And that person may be such a giver that they don't really know. But asking, how can I support you? And then asking specific things. Could I come over and help you with this? And don't be attached to the outcome. They might not want help with that. If you saw something funny in a store or on social media, send it to them. Just let them know you're thinking about them. Find ways, to be there. And if you have questions about how to do more of that, because a lot of us need that, a lot of us want it, we just don't quite know how to get started. Just let us know. We're happy to help with more support around that, because we really want to have a happier, healthier culture. And there's a lot of work to do to get there. And we want to do our small part to help you.
Yes, because even what we do is just a little baby step.
Yep, everything's a little baby step.
Yeah.
So until next time, we love you.
Mwah.
Mwah.